Say when. Okay.
We're rolling.
Okay, let me set these over here real quick.
Okay.
So here's our. Well, let's talk through building the box first, Jared. So these 4 corner braces here are basically to hold the box together. We've got it screwed together, but this is like added insurance because all of your stress when people are carrying this is going to be for this to go boom like that. And so I added these corner braces here to strengthen this, the pressure is going to be exerted from, 3 people on each side carrying this and wanting this to spread apart. So you nail these in, and then I've got screws run down here and screws run down here, and this basically ties the whole box together. So now some of this stuff is easier to do with 2 people. I can get this, Jared. Some of this is easier to do with 2 people, and this is where, like Jared was indispensable the other day. I mean, I could have done this by myself, but it would have taken 3 times longer. So with 2 people here, we got, how many boxes did we build last Saturday, Jared?
4 total.
4 boxes in probably what, 3 hours?
3 hours plus 75% of the trim work, pre-cut.
Yeah, right, yeah, we pre-cut all the trim and everything. And like the first one took us probably half an hour.
Right.
And then the second and third one took us about 10 minutes.
Right.
So,
we batched up repeatable processes and repeated them to make best use of our time.
So once we got it down, it was like boom, boom, boom. So this is the important part here, because you want to be sure that you build these according to this pattern and the way these are lapped over. So if you take, this is our 24-inch slab here on the bottom. Now remember, our top is going to be the one that's an 1/8 inch bigger. So be sure you get those right, okay? So your bottom here is going to be, you want to be sure you lap this like this. Your bottom goes on the side pieces and you screw the bottom in from the bottom.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So if you take the side, and let me grab a piece of wood here. If you take the side and you lap it over like this, and you screw this from the side here, now what you've done is you've added 1.5 inches, 3/4 plus 3/4 down here to your top surface. And now you need a lid that's actually 25 and 5/8 wide, because it has to lap over these 2 surfaces. So you see what's happening there, and you don't have 25.5 inches of wood left over from a 24-inch bottom. You've only got 24 inches left. So it's important that you lap these this way so you have enough wood to do this. Otherwise, you're buying another sheet of plywood.
Right.
Okay. So, and the other thing too is for structural strength, if we lap it over this way and screw it from the side, okay, you see what's happening here? Your screws would be going into the side of the plywood. And by the time you get a screw in here, along here, you've only got that much plywood holding your weight in the bottom coming down this way. So you've got an 1/8 of an inch of plywood surface that's carrying all the weight of the body that's in here. So we screw it from the bottom, and we've got screws about every 4 inches here, Jared? Looks
Yes.
like? Yeah, about every 4 or 5 inches. And so this is going to carry, probably 500-600 pounds actually.
Right.
So that's
For those of us that are learning about wood screws and holes and drilling, can you talk about the drill bit you used to pre-drill these holes?
good idea.
And why these screws fit in here so flush.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's something that a lot of people
So I have, you can buy sets of screw guns at Home Depot. And if you're not doing this professionally, go to Harbor Freight.
I do.
Jared knows this. Yeah, you can buy these 2 at Home Depot for about $150. You can get the same thing at Harbor Freight for what, $29?
Probably.
Something like that. So, but I always have 2 screw guns when I'm doing production. One for my countersink, and basically this is a little drill bit with a little reamer there, and put that on there, and it drills you a little countersink hole there.
And the drill stops. It's
Yeah.
designed to stop. You can't go deeper than that.
And then I've got the other drill is an impact driver. It's not just a straight, regular running drill. And it actually kind of ratchets the screw in. And I like these for screwing things because it runs the screw in well, and it sets them fast.
Right.
So,
and again, for those of us who've never used a power drill before, you don't want to hold that trigger because that screw will can continue to go through and drive through that wood.
Yeah, it'll go right through the plywood.
So that was controlled triggering at the end there.
Yeah, that's where experience comes in. So, so this is your bottom. So I'm going to flip this back down now. Make sure I'm on sawhorses. Okay. So that is our basic box structure there. So I'm going to put the lid back on, and then we're going to walk through the finishing of the lid here. Okay, now you'll notice I've got 4 screw holes here in the corners. These are 3/4 in, 3/4 in, and basically what these are going to do is when everything your funeral's over and you're ready to transport to the cemetery, I'm going to pre-drill all of these, and these 4 screws are going to anchor into these corner posts, and it's basically going to lock the top down. So that's what those are for. And I'm going to set these up so everything's pre-drilled, so if nobody at the funeral forgets to bring a screw gun, you'll be able to screw these in with a manual screwdriver. So there is our lid. So remember, our lid is 1/8 of an inch wider now than this box. And this is how we're going to trim that out. Let me find my lid here. Okay. So those are going to be our side pieces. Now here's something else that I learned the hard way, or kind of the easy way. So these are our side pieces here. This is this detail here, okay? So all that is it's a piece of 1x2 from Home Depot, and we cut these corners with a miter, and I'll talk about that in a second. So these corners are cut with a miter, and I have an air nailer that I'm not going to use right now, but you could conceivably do all this with a hammer and finish nails, but yeah.
That's not fun.
That's not fun, and that's but and here again, I mean, people in the Renaissance, they built stuff 100 times nicer than this will ever be without any power tools. So I mean, anything can be done. Whether or not you want to do it is an entirely different thing. So I don't want to do dovetail Japanese joinery and biscuit joints and glue and all of that. If I could sell these for $5,000, I would do that. But these are going to be under $1,000. So these will go on here like this. Nail that on. I've got the 2-foot pieces that'll run over here, and so that'll be our side rail detail. Now here's another thing that is going to be helpful that I found out building our last box when you weren't here, but we talked about this. So when you're lowering this lid on, the tendency is, if you don't get it exactly right, this edge down here catches on here. So unless you get this exactly right, you're going to be biting that like that. And so what I figured out was I'm going to flip this up like this, and this edge down here, I'm going to take a palm sander. I'm going to take this puppy here, with some 80 grit sandpaper, and I'm gonna slightly bevel this bottom edge. And so what's going to happen is this bottom edge is going to get kind of rounded over, and it's going to be probably 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch wider. So I'm going to put a little, edge like that on there. So when you're lowering this, you've actually got more clearance on this bottom edge. So when you drop this down, it doesn't catch here, it just kind of glides over, and then by the time it actually locks, you're onto the actual locking surface here. So just kind of take some sandpaper and just ease that bottom edge, and that'll save you some, keep it from doing that business on you if you're not getting the lid exactly dropped square onto the casket. There's nothing like having people struggling with your casket at the end of a funeral to try to get it into the hearse. So we want to make this as elegant and as painless and as orchestrated as we can. And that's one way to do it, is to just kind of make that a little bit easier on the people who are going to be lowering that lid onto your box. So that's our top detail here, and then I've got